Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. It is 6 p.m. City Attorney, would you lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Brooks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner Tagliarini,
Here.
Commissioner McGinn,
Here.
Commissioner Gavalli.
Here.
All are present.
Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
I'd
Do we have a motion?
like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalli. Yes. Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Tagliarini,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is proclamations. The 56th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week runs May the 4th through the 10th, 2025. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, therefore, Anne Marie Brooks, Mayor of the City of Madeira Beach, do recognize the week of May the 4th through the 10th, 2025 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Clara Van Bardigan, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thank you, Clara.
Thank you.
We have no presentations, and with no public for comment, we will move on to approval of the minutes. If everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes and there are no changes, do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes of the meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Tagliarini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalli,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. With nothing, we will move on to public hearings. Ordinance 2025-01, new personnel policy, second reading and public hearing, and I will hand this to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and read this ordinance by title only. Ordinance 2025-01, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adopting a new personnel policy, repealing Ordinance 2019-13, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of Ordinance 2025-01. It does include changes that were requested by the Board of Commissioners at the meeting that was held on March 12th. My partner, Rob Eschenfelder, is here to address any further concerns that the Commission may have.
With no one in the audience for public comment, commissioners, comments?
The changes, were they highlighted? Were they red?
No, it wasn't a strike-through underline. So the first change was on-call status. The status provided that exempt employees are ineligible for overtime. And so what I did there is combined section 4C, 4A, and C, but I left the ineligible for status language because the policy should be clear that an FLSA exempt employee can never be on call, as that term is used under the FLSA requirements. It is important for the Commission to understand that under the FLSA, non-exempt employees are required to be paid for all hours worked and must be paid a premium rate for overtime. They also must be compensated for time spent on call, waiting to be called back to work, such as time spent predominantly for the employer's benefit. So exempt employees, on the other hand, are not entitled by law to compensation in excess of their regular salaries, even for on-call time. Under the FLSA, exempt employees must generally be paid on a salary rather than an hourly basis. FLSA regulations do provide that additional compensation besides the salary is not inconsistent with salary basis payment. However, such additional compensation is contemplated to be in the nature of, say, a one-time performance bonus for an exceptional project completed. Payment of exempt employees based upon the number of hours they work or are on call typically violates the Act's salary basis test. Therefore, awarding exempt employees extra pay, such as on-call pay, would lead to the loss of an employee's exempt status and, by extension, to the ability of the employer for back overtime pay under the FLSA's 2-year look-back period. The second change that was made was a comment about floating holidays, and that they wanted to change to a calendar year, from a calendar year to a fiscal year. I made that edit. In terms of the vacation provision, you wanted it changed from calendar year to fiscal year, and to remove the sentence after the chart that read vacation leave must be used by December 31 of each year. I made those edits. The mayor did share with me, though, that one additional edit that's needed to make it consistent with the Commission's intent is on section Roman numeral 7, capital A, paragraph 3, accumulated vacation leave will be tracked by payroll. And then there was a sentence, employees who do not use their vacation leave by the end of the calendar year shall forfeit their remaining unused leave. That also should have come out, and so with your motion to approve, we'll go ahead and make that change and provide that to everyone. And then there was final edit was the language on the degree program, and you wanted that changed from the 80% to 100%. And so that was done as well. So those were the edits that the Commission had asked for last time.
Thank you.
You go ahead.
As long as you're okay with the clarity on, I think there was on the definition of the exempt versus non-exempt. I knew we talked about changing fiscal from calendar, but I didn't know we actually made that request. Is that what everyone wanted to do?
Mm-hmm. It was my understanding.
Okay.
Sorry, that was my understanding.
If that's what the Commission wanted to do, then that's fine. I have no other comments.
Commissioner?
I have no comments, thank you.
Commissioners?
No comments.
I have two. Number one, we did not receive the updated personnel policy until today. So I'm not even sure if everyone here read it or got to read your comments. But there was one thing in your comments that I did see that was in regards to allowing the city manager to make the determination on how long someone would have to work for the city if we paid for their tuition. I don't agree with that. What I would agree with or would think would be a better use, and my reasoning for not agreeing with that is if the city manager showed bias or favoritism and would give one person a year and someone else 3 years or 5 years. But as a compromise to that, I thought what would be maybe a better option would be if you get a bachelor's degree, it's 3 years. If you get a master's degree, it's 5. Doesn't matter who you are, and that would, whatever that number would be. And in saying that, is that something that we would have to vote to change today? Could we leave it what we originally said was 1 year? And then could the commission talk about this at a later date and that could come back and be changed? That way we could workshop it, which I'd also like to come on that since we didn't receive the final until today, the city clerk's office they have been going through the final read as was received and found different areas where there was conflict of verbiage used and different things like that that are not necessarily hugely consequential. And you and I had a brief conversation. You gave some explanation on that. If we vote to approve this tonight, can we still bring this back to a workshop along with all of the input from the city clerk's office so that we can address the concerns of the city clerk in regards to being consistent with the charter, having an understanding of why we would not change those sorts of things? Is that permissible where we're approving it, it can go out, the Civil Service Commission has done their job, and we're just going to wordsmith some things with the charter?
Yes, absolutely. You know, as everybody knows, this has been a multi-year project, and we'd like to get the entire package done. There's a lot of moving parts. And we do contemplate that it would be rolling out to employees. So that would be my recommendation, is just go ahead and adopt all 3 ordinances tonight. And then, you know, certainly I had not been, the clerk had not shared with me any of her comments, so I have I did not have the opportunity to prepare to respond to them tonight. But what you had briefly shared with me, I don't see any charter, you know, issues or problems or concerns. But we can talk about that in a future workshop. And if we need to make any particular tweaks, we can easily come back with a glitch ordinance, if you will, and insert whatever language that we need to do.
I just want to make sure, I mean, it seems to me like we want to get it all right? But I also can appreciate, let's move it forward and still come back. So I would like to see us put this on our next workshop and let the city clerk present us before the workshop with what they find. And then we can all be on the same page, have the conversation, but we're able to move the policy handbook forward. The Civil Service Commission has worked for over 3 years. I think it's like 5 on getting
it's
a
over
personnel.
4, from when the project started. And if the clerk can share with me whatever she's developed, you know, in full, I'll be happy to analyze each one and provide my response.
And I got this just to be fair to Clara and her office. I was here today. We were having a conversation about what we got, and she shared with me they were working on some things to bring up. And I asked her if I could have their preliminary just to use as conversation so that everyone on the commission would know that we would want to discuss that again. Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor, just for clarification, the part about requiring number of years working after compensation for education, that's currently that decision is made by the city manager.
What we had discussed in the workshop was to make it 3 years. So if the city paid for you to get an education, you had to commit to working here for 3 years.
Flat.
Flat.
So what if they only did a year and didn't get a degree, or 2 years and didn't get a degree? Would they be and got compensation? Would they have any requirement at all? Or is
So
this, so this is probably something we need to hash out, right?
it is. So, I mean, I would like to see us keep it at the 3 years that we discussed in the workshop, would be my opinion. If you have another, I would be happy to hear that, and not change it to, it's up to the discretion of the city manager.
Okay, yeah.
And then if we decide in our next workshop that, you know, you want to do whatever, I'll tell you what
Well, at a workshop, we can
can-
talk about all sorts of options.
Correct,
right?
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Any other comments?
No comments.
Comment?
Makes sense.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2025-01, personnel policy adoption.
I'll second.
With the changes discussed?
With changes discussed. Sorry, I thought that was understood. Sorry.
Okay.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabayie?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-02, amendment to the Civil Service Commission duties and responsibilities, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Division 4 of Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances relating to the Civil Service Commission, providing for conflict codification and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-02 by title only. There have been no changes to this ordinance since the first reading on March the 12th.
With no one in attendance for public comment, commissioners, comments?
No changes, no comments.
I have no comment.
Comments?
No comment.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-02, amendment to Civil Service Commission duties and responsibilities, second reading.
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gabayie?
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-03, post-termination hearings, hearing officer, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a reading of ordinance 2025-03 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adding Division 5, post-termination hearings, hearing officer, to Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, providing for conflict codification and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-03 by title only. There have been no changes since it was first read on March 12th.
With no public comment, commissioners, comments?
No changes.
No changes. No comment.
Do we have a motion? I have a change. Oh, you have a change.
It says on the last page of the ordinance, it says this ordinance shall take effect on January 5th, 2025. So we want to change that to today, or?
I'm going to change it to April 6th. It needs to be changed to April 6th, so we can make that change. So,
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of ordinance 2025-03, post-termination hearings, hearing officer, second reading.
To take effect.
Corrections.
Second.
With the corrections. Yes.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan?
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabayie?
Yes.
Mayor Brooks?
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-09, districts, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-09, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Section 110-151, Establishment of Districts of Chapter 110 Zoning of Article 5 Districts, Division 1 generally, of the city's land development regulations, renaming the C1 zoning district to Johns Pass Village Activity Center, removing C2 Johns Pass Marine Commercial Zoning District, providing for conflict for codification and severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-09 by title only. There have been no changes to this ordinance since it was originally read.
With no public comment, commissioners, any comments or questions?
No.
No comment.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That motion's to approve?
That motion, I'm sorry, is to approve 2025-09, district second reading.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalle.
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-10, accessory structure, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-10, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 6, supplementary district regulations, Division 4, accessory structures of the city's land development regulations to rename the C1 tourist commercial zones to include Johns Pass Village Activity Center, add setbacks for each character district of Johns Pass Village Activity Center zoning, and remove references to the C2 zoning district, providing for conflict, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-10 by title only, and there have been no changes to this ordinance as well since its first reading.
With no public comment, commissioners, comments or questions?
No comment.
I don't think anything was changed.
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2025-10, accessory structures, second reading.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gavalle.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-11, alcoholic beverages, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-11, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 6, supplementary district regulations, Division 6, alcoholic beverages of the city's land development regulations, providing for Johns Pass Village Activity Center zoning district regulations, providing for planned development zoning district regulations, removing references to C2 Johns Pass Marine Commercial, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2025-11 by title only. And you'll remember after the workshop and before the first reading, there was a change relating to the PD zoning district. And there was some language added at the very end, and that's on page 261 of your packet. At the very top of the page, subparagraph E, PD zoning district, it reads as follows. Properties that are zoned to the PD zoning district have the same restrictions for alcoholic beverages as the zoning district prior to rezoning to PD zoning district, unless otherwise specified at the time of the PD zoning adoption. Those last few words, unless otherwise specified at the time of the PD zoning adoption, were added. And again, that was before the first reading, but between the workshop and the first reading, it was changed.
With no public comment, commissioners, comments?
No. No comments.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. Looks good.
Yep.
Okay, no comment.
Do we have a motion?
I move we pass ordinance 2025-11, alcoholic beverages.
Do we have a second? City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gavalle,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2025-12, amendment to the Fees and Collection Procedure Manual, second reading and public hearing. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, adopting a revised Appendix A, Fees and Collection Procedures Manual of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, to provide for the modification of hourly rates and rooms available for rent within the Recreation Center and City Hall, and reword the reference to sales tax collected therefore. Repealing ordinance 2025-08, providing for conflict, codification, severability, and providing for an effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-12 by title only.
With no public comment, commissioners, comments, questions?
Pretty straightforward.
No comment.
I think Jay explained this very well.
I think you did.
In good stead.
The motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-12, amendment to the Fees and Collections Procedure Manual.
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabayie,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is unfinished business. We do not have anything listed, so we will move on to contracts and agreements. And first on the agenda is automated side load garbage truck lease agreement. And Ms. Wepfer?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is the item that we reviewed last week and spoke about for the rental of the side loader for a 13-month period through RDK. No changes from the previous meeting.
With no public comment, commissioners, questions, comments?
No comment.
No comment.
Given the cost and liability of having the equipment, I would propose we should accept this.
Do we have a motion?
Is that your motion?
I'd like to approve the automated side loader garbage truck lease agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabayie,
Yes.
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Taglerini, Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is Public Works Satellite Building Change Order.
Hello again. This is also the item that we spoke about at the workshop meeting. This was an accident on my part from a miscommunication. This is a change order to add the architectural and the structural, in addition to the previously already contracted amount, but no changes from what we already discussed.
With no public comment, commissioners, questions, comments?
I've stated that I'm not in favor of this development for several reasons. One reason is that this real estate is extremely valuable, not just in terms of cost, but also location and what it can offer in terms of waterworks, boating, future growth, anything associated with the bay and the Gulf. That's one reason. The other reason is that I feel this cost of engineering and architectural, I think it's just way excessive. Shouldn't be that high. So for those two reasons, I'm not in favor of it.
Commissioner, comments?
No comment.
Comments?
I agree with Commissioner Gabayie 100%. Yeah, multiple opportunities, although we lost those opportunities to buy property for much less than the $2 million we're talking about on this building. I don't believe it should go there, and I've been opposed to it from the beginning, so I won't remain opposed.
I feel that if we're going to prioritize and value our public works, which provides services for the city, I don't believe that we should be cramming them in different corners throughout the city. I feel like that's a great location, and I would support this.
I agree. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the Public Works Change Order 32625.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Taglerini,
Yes?
Commissioner McGeehan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gabayy,
No.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
No.
Mayor Brooks.
Yes.
The motion carried 3-2.
Next on the agenda is new business, and we have no new business. So we will move on to agenda setting for the April 16th BOC workshop at 6 p.m. And we will also on that same day have a budget workshop at 4 p.m. City manager is not here, but he did send us an email in addition to the master plan, the local mitigation strategy, and the RFP for Area 3 drainage. He sent that we would also have the Johns Pass dredging update, Boca Ciega Street End update, Court of Honor update, Archibald Park update, post-storm updates, and the fiscal year 24 audit presentation. I would also like to add to that the policy handbook and our handbook. The reason being, I failed to bring up my own want to change in our handbook, and that was when we have public comment. We discussed this in a workshop, I think it was. When we have public comment, we started taking those items and discussing them at the end of the meeting so that residents' opinions could be heard and we could talk about whether or not we would add those to an upcoming agenda, which we have in almost every case, I believe. And it needs to be added to our handbook for writing our agenda items. So I would like to workshop that so we can get it added and then vote on it at our next regular meeting. The only other thing that I don't see on here is an update on Kitty Stewart Park. So I'd also like the city manager to add that. If anyone else has items.
Just to confirm, you're talking about the employee manual, right?
No, ours,
But
the
it's-
commission.
But are we not going to discuss that issue?
The key?
No, not the key.
Oh,
The-
yes, no, that's the policy.
That's the policy, okay.
handbook,
All right,
and then
got it.
our handbook.
Understood.
And then the
Thank
key
you.
to the key and awards was also an item we discussed, and I hope everybody will come with an opinion on that. Like, right, because I think really honing in what we want to do for that is a big deal moving forward.
You're talking-
Anything
I'm sorry, about the key to the city,
Yes.
correct? Okay,
on the next, or on our workshop?
right, okay.
So if anyone else has anything that they would like to add to that agenda?
No, but in that spirit of having a resident come up and follow up, I believe on the last workshop, Mr. Dillon came up and made a statement that it's not free. Permitting is not free. There was additional, and someone was going to follow up with them. I don't remember if that was followed up on or not.
So I can tell you what I found out.
Okay.
And we could talk about that in the workshop also. The fees that were charged that he was speaking of were impact fees, not building fees.
That was my
Yeah.
impression.
It was mine also, and he did come back in and clarified that, and to City Hall, because they did go look at it. And I'm sure that Robin will also have an update for us on the capturing of the permit fees for people who purchased the home after the storm, because there were some that fell through the cracks. We briefly touched on that to make sure that those go.
At a previous workshop, we had talked about the impact fees and what would need to be done to delete those. And it was a long process, but
Correct.
if that process never starts, it'll never end.
So we can talk about that again, but the purpose of impact fees is you're growing the size of your home. So when we eliminated the fees for permit fees and kept impact fees, the only person who's going to pay an impact fee is someone who increases the square footage of their house.
Which you can't elevate without increasing your home.
We can have that continued discussion.
I'm just against it.
I know, and I respect that. I'm for it.
You'll never do it.
So anything else that anyone would like to have added?
I would like to say that I have spoken with Senator DeSegli, and also I've communicated with Representative Cheney regarding the key the keys to the city. And to Commissioner Kerr's comment, I'll make sure that there's a nice write-up about what they have done for us during that presentation. And they basically stated that after the Senate, after the session, they will be here to accept the keys. So just want to put that out there.
The keys to the city, I thought we were still establishing criteria.
So in our next workshop, that is the criteria setting for how we would determine who would get a key or who would qualify for that. So that's what we have to, and then we have to pass an ordinance to be able to give a key. So we have to come, that's the importance of everyone coming to the workshop and being prepared to speak on what your thoughts are on the keys, whether or not you think that we should do Tom provided us a lot of great examples. And I think it would be in our best interest for the community to understand what he sent us and think about in the community, when you think about doing something for people, do you think that we should do that? And what is that criteria for that? And that's what we're going to talk about at the workshop. So then whatever the decision is made collectively by the commission, Attorney Trask can go back and write us an ordinance that would put that in writing of how we would determine whether or not somebody gets something, what they get, what they do. Correct, Attorney Trask?
We would do it by resolution.
Resolution, I'm sorry, not ordinance, resolution, yes.
Also, I have spoken with DOT regarding 150th Avenue, and they have the milling and resurfacing of 150th Avenue on the radar. And they will also improve the bridge down the road. So those two items is on DOT's list.
So we can move on to reports and correspondence, Board of Commissioners 2025 BOC meeting schedule. Clara, I think you usually present this to us.
Does anybody have any changes to the meeting schedule?
I don't see any way to avoid this, but I'll be on vacation on June 25th. So I'll be back for the next one, but I'll be on vacation for that one.
Okay. So we're leaving the date the same?
I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks, so
You're going to miss something.
I'm going to miss something.
Okay.
Is that-
Well, we'll be sure that we place a lot of things on there that you would vote no on. Just kidding.
Who's
That's
kidding?
what I get for being honest.
Well, it's a workshop, so you can watch it and come prepared for the voting meeting, right?
There you go.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Any other comments on that? Next on the agenda is the Board of Commissioners meeting report, January 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2025.
I just wanted to find out your thoughts on that. I was going to keep it up at every meeting. At the end of the year, we'll have an annual.
So I thought it was very interesting to go back and read through all of that. I liked it, Commissioners.
This is very helpful. I appreciate reviewing things that we've talked about that may slip away from us, get off the
Right.
plate. So this is a lot of work, and I appreciate it.
Yep.
Come together, and it puts the ordinances together, and I started putting when it was discussed at a workshop, first reading, second reading, or third reading, or whatever we have on there, trying to group everything together so you'll know.
Great job.
Record, there is no public here for comment, so I haven't called for public comment on these items for that reason. Next on the agenda is the city attorney.
I just want to briefly give you an update. We're still working hard, trying to get that settlement agreement language. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different people, insurance companies, defendants in the litigation for the fire station. We're basically boiled down to one last thing, and that's some language in the portion of the agreement with Crowther Roofing to deal with the roof issue. The attorney representing the city, Brett Henson, wanted to put on the agreement for your consideration and approval tonight. I did not feel comfortable with that, it not being a complete settlement. I advised him of that, and so we're shooting for the next regular meetings. I want to make sure it's all complete, so there is nothing that will fall through the cracks. And so I hope you understand that we're working on that, trying to get that done.
Okay.
So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the attorney? No. Next on the agenda is the city clerk report, April 2025.
I hope you all had an opportunity to look at that. I am working on the city manager roster, like you had asked, Mayor, and the one that had got started a few years ago by another clerk, a lot of the information was not correct. So I went back to the beginning, and I'm working on that. So I'll have that on the next one. And so I also went through for the city clerks. The city clerk, of course, the first one was elected in 1947. They served from 1947 to 1965. I think the city manager was hired, the first one, it had something to do with the sewer too, because they over operations, so they had the sewer thing they was working on, and I think that was sometime in the 50s. So, and then I put the, what the duty, about the city clerk now, me, and also the history of the municipal clerks again. So I know you saw it twice with the proclamation and that. I just wanted to group it together where it also belonged and also put it with the proclamation. So.
It's very nice. Thank you, Clara.
Very helpful, thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
You're very welcome.
I've enjoyed reading the history that she gives us. It's very interesting.
And if you have any ideas, the next one, I'm going to do one on the city manager.
Be careful what you ask for.
Okay. Like I said, I love research.
Vice Mayor Kerr or I will come up with something.
Well, he gave me a lot of ideas for the annual report, about grouping things together and that way they wouldn't get lost in it. How many times did we review that? 4 or 5 times this
Right,
year? Or
right.
what have we done? Or what's the progress? So I said, okay, I can do something with that. So.
Very good.
Fantastic.
Great job, Clara.
Thank you, Clara. Great job.
Great job.
Next on the agenda is the city manager, and since he is not here, but someone is in his chair, do you have anything on his behalf for us before we adjourn?
I do not. Nothing for
Then,
me.
with no one present for any further public comment, and we're at the end, it is
I
6.
would, real quick, I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
I was just wanting to thank you to the City of Madeira Beach and Jay Hatch for the amazing Captain's Dinner. And then also the Seafood Festival was a great success. So thank you and great job.
Great work.
Great food.
It was a great job. We went out and had a great time. Food was great. There were lots of people. I can't wait, Jay, since you brought that up, thank you, Commissioner McGeehan. I can't wait to see the numbers, the final numbers, because of the amount of people. The weather was so fantastic, and we made it a point to walk into the shops and to see how busy they were, and it'll be interesting to me to see what our feedback is, not only from attendees, but from the stores that are down in the pass, and get the parking revenue, the sales, all that kind of stuff that we did.
I
So
heard someone who was a great bartender too, also, by the way.
that was at the Grunt Hunt.
Was at the ground.
That was at the Grunt Hunt. All righty, if we have anything else, commissioners,
Great meeting.
then it is 6:43 and we are adjourned.